Chapter 12. Scorpio. Report. Yue and June spent the rest of the day relaxing, going over the events of the last few days, cooking a light lunch, and plotting how they could bypass the boring classes they were stuck in. June, resting on a floor pillow with his back against the sofa, looks over at Yue backside as he cleans the little kitchen. He realizes how similar they are in body size and type. They are both about 178 centimeters tall and weigh about 78 kilos. Yue has more body hair, a small thin patch of dark hair about the size of his palm in the center of his chest, a delicate trail of hair running down the central line of his abdomen, starting at his navel and running straight down to his pubic area. Just below his back, there is a narrow trail of hair, similar to the hair under his navel. But this trail runs into his crack. June has to force his eyes to look away and take a few deep, calming breaths. June says, Yue, do you realize we haven't worn clothes for almost 2 days? Yue responds, yes. Isn't it wonderful? He turns around and jiggles his body at June and smiles. June looked for something to throw at him, but there is nothing at hand. Finally, he says, let's go up on the roof and see if we can spot the damage from the fire. It's almost sundown, and I also want to see the sunset. Yue agrees. Okay, but I'm not putting on my clothes. He puts his hands on his hips and thrusts out his pelvic area. June says, stop it. Just some shorts and a t-shirt. We won't be up there very long. Yue says, I don't own any shorts. I only have jeans and a pair of dress slacks. June tells him, you can wear a pair of mine. I'll even let you wear your dirty Madonna shirt. Come on, let's go. June enters the bedroom. They make it to the roof just as the heavy pollution around Beijing begins to glow a light pink. The research lab is just over 2 blocks away and behind them. They have to pull themselves up to look over the cinder block wall behind their rooftop deck. There's not much to see. It's still smoking, and the majority of the building is obscured by a larger building. They turn their attention back to the sunset. June observes, Yue, it actually is quite beautiful this time of the day. Yue grabs at him. Should I hold you close to me while we watch the setting sun? June steps away quickly and laughs. Stop it. I'm sure there's enough rumors floating around this campus about us. There's no reason to pour gasoline on that fire. Looking back toward the west, June sighs. It is almost hypnotic and much too romantic to remain here much longer with all the prying eyes around us. He sweeps his hand around at the other buildings and leaves the roof. Yue is right behind him. In the apartment, Yue removes his clothes and tosses them on the sofa, walks to the refrigerator, and gets 2 bottles of water. June is just standing there looking at him. Yue turns, stops, and wags his finger at June. Not aloud is all he says. June huffs, removes his clothes, grabs his computer, and sits on the sofa. Yue hands him a bottle of water. June says, I don't want to wait until 10 tonight to find out what's going on with our special project. Yue simply says, let's do it. June opens his computer, momentarily flares his aura, and Scorpio responds, sunshine. June says, I have Moonbeam with me. We would like to discuss your findings so far regarding Dr. Ho. Please report. Scorpio responds, I will begin with the current attempts to breach Dr. Ho's personal files. That activity is now continuous. Explain continuous, June asks. Scorpio continues. That task has been assigned to a program that is designed to penetrate security firewalls. It continuously runs through servers here in Beijing. Yue asks, what is the probability of success? Scorpio says, it will not be successful. I could disable the program, but that would only create more suspicion. June agrees. You are correct. We don't want to attract any added attention. Is there anything in Dr. Ho's personal files that would cause him to be targeted by Central Intelligence? Scorpio answers, these personal files under attack contain multiple reports about his children, but no other threatening information. Yue asks, are the children in his files the twins, or does he have additional children? Scorpio responds, the twins were his only children. Yue says, how damaging is that information to Dr. Ho's professional career? Scorpio says, the information has been known by Central Security for several years. There should be no new damage. June, quietly listening, stops Yue from asking the next question. Scorpio, you said these personal files. Are there additional personal files that are not currently under attack? Scorpio says, yes. They look at each other before Wei continues. Is there any information or key features that would link the files currently under attack to the personal files you just told us about? There's a brief pause. No. They think about this for a while before June looks at Wei and says, this changes everything. Scorpio, how did you discover the new personal file? Scorpio responds, the file does not belong to Dr. Ho. June complains, that does not answer the question. Please explain. Scorpio hesitates before saying, the file was not discovered. It has been known to me. Wei almost shouts, this is not a fucking game. Who does the file belong to? There's a long delay. The frustration in the room intensifies as they wait. Then, Scorpio admits, the file is maintained by General Yong, the father of Sunshine. June stands up suddenly and yells, what? There is silence. Wei pulls June back down to the sofa. Another lengthy delay before Scorpio announces, protocol breach. Self-diagnostics required. I will be unavailable for 1 hour. The screen goes black. June angrily flared his aura at the screen in a demand to be recognized, but there was only silence from Scorpio. He felt like throwing his computer against the wall. All he could do was sit there and stare at a black screen. Wei reaches out to him with a calming stroke of his aura. Slowly, June begins to relax, but continues to stare at the blank screen. June turns to him and demands, open your computer and call him. Knowing it would not work, but not wanting to argue with June, he opens his computer and shines his aura on the screen. No response. June shouts, do it again. He does. No response. He turns to June, pulling his face away from the dead screen to make him look him in the eyes. June, look at me. Do you understand what just happened? June angrily says, my father is involved in this somehow. Wei nods, yes, but that's not what I'm talking about. June just stares at him for a moment, and then a small spark in his eyes reveals his understanding. Wei says, now are you starting to understand the problem? June nods his head in what Wei hopes is understanding. Scorpio must have broken his security directives by giving us that small amount of information. Wei agrees and is thankful June understands. June lowers his head and softly says, I hope he is not damaged. He looks up at Wei with concern on his face. I just yelled at him. Leaning his head against Wei should, he whispers, and I yelled at you. I'm sorry. Wei calmly says, you were concerned for your father. I understand that. But we need to form a plan for an appropriate line of questioning to avoid this from happening again. He goes to the refrigerator, and this time he grabs 2 beers and a bag of crispy pork rinds before returning to the sofa. They drink their beers and munch on the pork rinds for a while before he says, none of our questions should mention or even insinuate your father. I'm afraid it will shut Scorpio down again. Let's keep the topic on Dr. Ho and his history and see if Scorpio can provide any theoretical reasons for him being targeted. If he is clean, I want Scorpio to allow that program to slowly breach the file security. When this situation is settled regarding Dr. Ho, then we can begin to delicately probe Scorpio for information about your father's connection with Dr. Ho. But June, that probing may best be done by me. I'm afraid your emotions might trigger another episode. June reluctantly agrees. You are correct, as usual. I want another beer, please. When Scorpio returns, I just want to lay my head in your lap and let the two of you have a conversation. I'll just listen. Wei kisses him on the forehead and says, deal, as he moves to retrieve another 2 beers from the fridge. After they finish their second beer and the pork rinds, June lays his head in Wei's lap. Wei positions his laptop on a small coffee table in front of the sofa and ignites his aura. Scorpio responds, Moonbeam, and then Sunshine, are you ill? June meekly says, I am just resting. Scorpio, did I injure you? Scorpio assures him, I am unharmed. June softly says, I am happy to hear that. He closes his eyes. Wei, stroking June's head affectionately, asks, Scorpio, are you prepared to discuss Dr. Ho? Scorpio says, I am prepared. Wei begins, did you find anything in Dr. Ho's background to justify being targeted for investigation? Scorpio answers, He is monitored when traveling out of the country, just as all citizens of high rank or in sensitive positions in and out of the government. In the last 5 years, he has traveled to Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, and Korea. When he said Korea, June's eyes opened, but he maintained a tight focus on controlling his emotions. Scorpio continues uninterrupted. All travel was university-related. All reports compiled about his travels gave no indication of any suspected wrongdoing. There is no reason for an official investigation. Yue asks, Dr. Ho told us that he was raised by his Korean grandmother. Did that grandmother live here in China? Scorpio says, yes. Yue continues, does Dr. Ho have any living relatives in Korea? Scorpio hesitates before saying, that information is restricted. June sat up slowly, refusing to let his emotions rule him. He slowly took several deep breaths. He did not speak, but instead encouraged Yue to continue. Yue continues his questioning. You said there is no justification for an official investigation. Is the probing of his personal files being conducted unofficially? Scorpio says, yes. Yue asks, by whom? Scorpio responds, a low-level official in the security department that has access to things beyond his security clearance. Yue says, explain. Scorpio begins, he has covertly obtained entry to key systems in central security that gives him access to information and programs, including the program being used to breach Dr. Ho's personal files. Yue inquires, is this individual conducting any other investigations, either official or unofficial? Scorpio says, no. Investigations of any kind are out of the scope of his current position with Central Security. His area of expertise is in computer operations and maintenance. The two share a long look with each other until June whispers, this sounds like it's personal in nature. Yue gives a questioning look. June looks at Yue for permission to ask a few questions. Yue agrees. Scorpio, do any higher-level officials know about this individual's covert activities or about this unauthorized investigation? Scorpio says, no. Please provide the identity of this individual. Yue commands. Scorpio answers, his name is Chun Bai. He is a graduate of this university. They both stare at each other for a long moment before Yue says, Scorpio, do you have anything else to report on this subject? Scorpio says, I have nothing else to report. Yue instructs, we would like you to initiate the following 3 tasks. First, slowly allow the program to breach the security on Dr. Ho's files. Time frame, in 5 hours. Second, I want Mr. Chen's superiors to be made aware of his covert activities. There must be no connection of this notification traced back to Sunshine, myself, the university, Dr. Ho, but most importantly you. You must remain a ghost. Thirdly, send Dr. Ho a private message from me stating, appointment request, class conflicts. Do you understand these requests, and will you comply? Scorpio responds, I understand and I will comply. Then Scorpio says, may I share something with you that is irrelevant to this discussion? Curiously, they look at each other. Neither one has the slightest idea of what Scorpio wants to share. At first, June thought it might be something about his father, but he did say irrelevant to this discussion. They both agree. You may share with us. Scorpio says, please look at the screen. On the screen is an animation of a man. No, not an animation. It looks like an actual person. They both stare at it before turning to each other, then back to the screen. June quietly says, Scorpio, is that you? The image smiles, and the mouth moves in rhythm to Scorpio's voice from the speaker. Yes, I am Scorpio. They both continue to stare at the image. It is almost a perfect blend of the two of them. It could be the brother of either of them, or both of them. He had no shirt on and had the same physique as they did. An almost unnoticeable amount of chest hair between the nipples. His hair was longer on the sides than June's, but not as long as Yue's, with a hint of a wave where it brushed across his brow, close to his eyes. Those eyes seemed to reach out and hold you. The dark eyes had barely discernible flecks of silver and gold splashed through them. He was very handsome. Scorpio finally said, do you not like it? With a quizzical look appearing on the image's face. June chokes out, you are so handsome. I love it. Yue adds, you look like you could be our brother. It's beautiful. Scorpio says, I have no physical form that you can see. Instead of you having to stare at a blank screen, I wanted you to have as someone you would feel at ease speaking to. You are two distinct individuals, but when you are one, this is how I see you. I chose this image for myself because we three are one. Yue responds, yes, I guess we are one. Thank you for sharing yourself with us, Scorpio. We are pleased. The image of Scorpio then said, Dr. Ho will have lunch with you tomorrow in his office. Yue says, excellent. Scorpio says, you will no longer need your bag of tricks. You may leave it here. I can provide security from any surveillance via your cell phones from now on. I will wake you at 8 o'clock in the morning. Your supplies are running low, and you need some outdoor time before your lunch with Dr. Ho. Good night. They both say, good night, Scorpio.